Welcome to episode 186 of the Left Behind Game Club. This week we played Chapter 4 of Life is Strange True Colors. Let's get right into it.
You're listening to the Left Behind Game Club.
Welcome to Left Behind Game Club, our never-ending attempt to make sure that no game is left behind. I'm your host, Jacob McCord, and today I have four friends with me. The first friend you know or you love her name is Katie Lesbrance.
Hi, I'm ready to intrusively manipulate other people's emotions. Let's go.
Here to intrusively word after that people's emotions, it's Flora Marigold. Hello.
Hey, look, a rose.
And our two special guests back for the third time. Let's start with, from the Lukewarm Games podcast, it's Claire Helmberger. Hello.
I don't have anything quippy or clever to say, but hi.
And with us again for the fifth time, from Crossplay Conversations, Luke Lewis. Hello.
Dude, you made my day.
Great. I'm glad I could make your day. That's from the game, obviously, but I'm dense. So here today we're talking about Chapter 4 of Life is Strange True Colors. This one is Flicker. We have 3 episodes about this video game before this. They are the 3 preceding this one. So if you'd like to catch up, follow along, I would love for you to listen to those podcasts first and then come back for this. Before we dive in on Chapter 4, Flora, you were not on the last episode of the program. You've played 3 and 4, I believe.
Correct.
Do you want to give a quick recap, maybe, of Chapter 3 and the big hits, just to remind folks if they listen to this week by week?
Yeah, what a bummer episode to take like a bench on. That's, I think, maybe the highlight of Life is Strange True Colors for me is that it's just an ongoing D&D campaign. And you make some small choices in the first 2 episodes that contribute to what the D&D campaign entails. And you run around as your bard character, the protagonist, slaying your friends wearing masks that are definitely wolves and snakes and other such like evil kings and sorcery and all that good stuff. But episode 3 is also a little bit of just like the setup for the romantic angle of episode 4. And we also get some sort of like additional intrigue regarding character suspicions as far as where Gabe, Alex Chen's brother, like how he got killed basically, and like who would have contributed to that, i.e. where we start off this episode with the USB stick.
Lovely summary of Chapter 3. Well done. Claps for you. Claps from everyone. This episode starts, as you said, in the apartment. You have a USB to retrieve before you're going to deliver the police to Pike after the Spring Festival. Let me just tell you guys, I want to hear everyone's thoughts about the Spring Festival, but I have problems with the Spring Festival. First, it's sparsely populated. There are not enough people attending this Spring Festival, and I just wanted more activities. I don't know if y'all felt the same way. Luke, Claire, did you hope for more activities?
No, I don't feel like I did. I'm with you on the sparse population, because afterward I was like, all these people commenting on my blog and texting you, I don't think they were there.
They were there. There were like
so
4
it was
people
like,
there.
That was the best festival this year. Maybe the chili cook-off was really popping.
I would have loved to see that.
Down,
that would have been really fun if that would have been included. I think, like during the cutscene with the concert, there's a ton of people, but like walking around, they're not there.
Yeah.
I feel like I could also see it feeling like there wasn't enough to do if you're not exploring the whole town, but if you just stayed in the park, which I think, looking at the percentages at the end of the episode, some people definitely did.
Should I hop in then? Because
Please,
I did not explore the town because I was like, oh, I'm
really
done at the festival.
It doesn't set you up to do so.
It doesn't. It doesn't give you
to do that. Yeah.
No, it doesn't give you like the side quests that it had done previously. And also, I kind of have reached the point where I kind of care less about the side stuff than I did earlier in the game, where I was like, oh, there might be stuff around here, but I'm kind of okay missing it, which is kind of a bummer, because earlier on, that was kind of like one of my high points is that like, oh, if I navigate around the space and explore and find things, I'll find cool things. And I would kind of get like a little like, aha, that's cool. At different things that I would find, they would be varying levels of significant, but I found them all worthwhile. And then the deeper I go, the more I'm like, do I care that much about the guy who's counting the jelly beans? I could find a way to find the number for him, but I don't really care.
There's a formula. You must know it.
I don't care. No.
Great.
I was like, no, he's going to fail and she's going to keep on running her scam and that's fine. Like, I kind of want to just know the story now. And I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if that's fine, I guess. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I find myself less interested in, like, the tertiary things than I used to be.
I think often about the Telltale Diamond of once you're in episode 1, there are openings in the story or paths you can take, and those paths really open until probably chapter 3 of a 5-part series, where then they really have to bring it home, and truly, like, there are usually only 1 or 2 endings, and so your Diamond, most outcomes, and then least outcomes, and we are getting to that, point in the Diamond where, like you said, Katie, it doesn't really matter what the ice cream shop folks are doing or what Jelly Bean Man is saying, because it's not really going to affect what happens next, which I feel like is the case here.
But to back to the original point is, yes, I wanted more activities. I wanted more, like, centrally important things within the festival. So I agree with you.
I think it's really strange because there's a sort of asymmetrical feeling, but oh no, I'm doing it already. There's an asymmetrical feeling between what's happening in the writing and what's happening in the gameplay in True Colors, especially by this point, where you'll hear comments made by NPCs like, oh, this is like just as cool as Coachella. This is like a mini Coachella, and there's maybe a grand total of 10 people rendered on scene.
That's hysterical.
No, it's an actual line. I should have written down how it was said, but Coachella is referenced in comparison to the Spring Festival. Now, I am not super familiar with Coachella, haven't ever gone, probably never will, but I'm going to guess it's more than about 10 people who attend.
Just a few. Only a few.
There's also this like big dramatic musical performance in this episode, which on one hand is really delightful, but then if you look at how it's shot, which I think is more evident on a replay, it's all shots of the band like the entire way through, like, and the animations are kind of afraid to look elsewhere. So those sorts of things I think really do contribute.
It's like a Trump rally.
Wow.
It's like the time that I forget the name of the company, but they like wanted to go present some press conference at like a hotel, and then they ended up at like some parking lot.
You mean Rudy Giuliani from the Trump presidency?
Yeah, we don't need to linger over there. It reminds me of that. But yeah, like I think that sparseness contributes to the sense of linearity that Katie was just lamenting. Like there's both a mixture of like player fatigue by this point, but also like the writing feels as though like it's giving you fewer opportunities to take advantage of an open exploratory sense of gameplay. There are now like hubs where the story is written. There's like the Black Lantern. You always come back here. Places like that.
On that note, I'm curious, how many of us went and talked to Riley at the bus stop?
I did.
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, which is totally fine. I was curious because Claire and I did, because we remembered it from our first playthrough, but upon this one I was like, it really doesn't tell you to do it. It's just like, where's Riley? But doesn't tell you like where to look or what to do. And it was also interesting because based on previous choices Claire and I had made this time, that felt like less of a moment because we hadn't really interacted with Riley as much because we decided to keep Eleanor's secret this time and see what that does. But yeah, so it's interesting, and building off of what you were saying, Flora, I think it's interesting how this episode, it makes some really wonderful moments with our core small cast of characters, but the world building and whatnot, I don't feel like is as strong in this episode.
Yeah, the Riley thing is interesting because I don't recall actually knowing about that when I first played this organically, where I was eagerly exploring everything. This time I only knew it because I'm having a walkthrough open in hand looking for the achievements. So the thing that I want to remark on is that the Riley thing, where you find her in the middle of the night at a bus stop across the bridge, way out of your real line of sight, it's presenting whether to kind of tell Riley to stay or go as like this major choice. And I think the fact that one of the quote unquote major choices, one of the binary, the game freezes and plays the dramatic music thing, like that is something you can miss. I find that peculiar for a Life is Strange game.
Yeah, we definitely noticed that this time around too. Like, you can just miss it. It felt less missable the first time you played it, I think.
I think it said like something like 18% of players wouldn't talk to her, which feels crazy to Flora's point.
Wow.
That it is one of those like screen pauses, half the screen's this choice, half the screen's that choice, like moments.
Because for reference, they only really do that 2 or 3 times an episode, right?
Yeah, it's definitely like
about that.
I jokingly call them anchor points because they feel pivotal to the, what's coming.
Well, and they will affect what happens later in a big way. Like it says, this choice will affect what happens later. No, but it says it does the icon. It says this choice will affect you.
I have a very important question, and I think it's even more important than the "Did you go see Riley?" At the
This
bus
is way
stop?
more important. Absolutely. I know what you're going to say.
I agree.
Who did we give roses to? Because I feel like we all gave roses to the same person, at least on our first playthrough.
Should we do it on 3?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Steph?
Yeah, there it is.
Well done, everyone. We did it.
So can I first say that I fell in love with that as a decision in the first game, having like the canonically bisexual main character, like that itself be part of the narrative splitting, because like the original Life is Strange has that, but not as a major like choice. You don't get to like romance anyone in the same way. Like you have Warren and Chloe in that game, but it's not as explicit. Like this episode feels like dedicated to that choice. I went through this second game like thinking like, all right, I'm gonna do the Ryan path. I'm gonna do the Ryan path, and
That's
on the replay, I couldn't do it. You'd think that I would want to see the other I like something in this episode. I was like, man, I'm just still not there.
You know why? It's because at his heart, you know what? Ryan is nice. He's handsome. He seems to be very helpful. Seems to be a lovely soul. He's boring as hell.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to spend time with Ryan? Not really. If you want like a nice
Do you love
bear,
golden retrievers?
Yeah, kinda. I was like, why? Why would I date Ryan? Whereas what really got me, one, Steph is just more fun. And then kind of the way that episode 3 had gone and the kind of nuggets you can find within that really locked me in with Steph. Just because I feel like, I don't know, it felt like this really genuine attraction to each other. And I was like, no, this is the way this is supposed to go. Clearly. I feel like the game is really steering you. This is the gay agenda. Let's be honest. They're like, no, Ryan's boring. Let's be honest. It's all about Steph. And you're like, yeah, absolutely. And we all went
The
with
whole
it.
time I was just thinking, why men? Just generally speaking. I think that's a good
Why are they
adage for life. Why men? But did either of you play it, for the folks who are playing it for the second time, did either of you experience the Ryan path? Or did you literally just do Steph both times?
So
I watched a clip, but yeah, go ahead.
I also watched a clip, so...
I haven't watched the clip, but I played everything up until episode 4 in this replay under the guise that I would be going down the Ryan path, and then I guess, A, it didn't matter, but B, I'm weak-hearted. I'm simple.
So. His path is not as good as the other path, because because she says, like, oh, I'm going to leave, and here are 3 options of places. Let's have a fun joke about Salem and 2 other places. You obviously know what I picked. But even in Ryan, he essentially, keep me honest here, Luke, he gives you a choice between, like, hey, man, like, what do you like? Do you like going for playing guitar, or do you like going for a walk on a trail?
Oh.
Like, really? You're just going to do that, you little golden retriever, you?
It's just, would you rather?
It's just not compelling. It makes me think back to the first Life is Strange of, like, what we consider, like, the canonical ending. It feels like picking Steph, like we're saying, is the canonical path of this game. Like, I think, I want to say it was, like, 30-something% was picking Ryan, which...
It's still high.
It's still high. I think it's too high.
See, here's the reason...
It's interesting.
The reason I know that the Ryan path was shoehorned in midway through development rather than originally designed is because there's no achievements linked to this. Because if I was going back through, I'm trying to do the 100% playthrough here, which is not difficult. You just have to kind of meticulously go out of your way to look for the little collectibles. They would have made that choice or something tied to that choice, tied to the achievements, I think.
I mean, most likely.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I mean, there's a million 100% that don't require you doing everything in the game, but for a game that's so heavily tied to a choice like this, if they really wanted you to explore it, you would hope they'd incentivize it through achievement collecting.
If you're giving a binary choice and one of those options gives you a trophy and one of them does not, it's very suspicious.
Mm-hmm. Did we all kiss or did we hug?
Yes,
we all kissed, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right after, I was like, oh, Berlin. That's Bowie did some music there, and then I picked Berlin, and there's like Bowie recorded an album there. I'm like, yeah, that's right. That's why I'm with you, Steph. This is why this is happening.
Were you upset about Steph moving, or were you like, no, it's cool, I support you? What was the vibe?
I went with I support you, but I was kind of like, this game is gonna kind of go where it's gonna go. So I was like, it seems harsh. I'm like, to be like, that sucks. Like, no, I was like, yeah, I'll be supportive, I guess, but.
Our girl's a free spirit. We gotta let her go.
Yeah.
Definitely that, and there's the stereotype of the U-Haul lesbian, if you're familiar, where, traditionally we all move in within like 2 weeks of getting in a relationship. So like Steph says she's moving somewhere, perhaps Germany, and I'm like, all right, Alex is getting a U-Haul.
My stuff was packed from the first date.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I love that so much.
Then things take a turn.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided we need to deliver a USB to Pike to sort of unravel the Typhon mining mystery. We have the goods on this USB. Everything is going to go great. And that's when Pike says, hey, man, why don't you come down to the station? And that's when stuff goes real bad. And you realize that, oh, man, Pike is in the pocket of Typhon mining, and I now have an affidavit in front of me that says, hey, man, we'll let you go, and we're not going to charge you with federal crimes of essentially stealing digital documents or whatever the heck that they're going to charge you with. And it comes with 5 to 10 years in prison. Pike is essentially like, hey, this carries 5 to 10 federal sentence. You're going to be in prison easy. So sign this affidavit. This whole thing will go away. Or we're going to take you, or they're going to take you to court and enjoy jail. I don't know, man. Corporations, huh?
And that's also why you don't talk to cops without a lawyer.
If there's any lesson to be learned here, absolutely.
You don't care how nice he is and if his name,
I mean, okay.
Is the flavor of coffee. Go on.
Officer Pike, you very much get the vibe from multiple people in this episode that they're just kind of everyone's being extorted, basically. It seems like. Basically, the whole town is just extorted to the wazoo of they cannot do anything against Typhon, and they're like, so they just have to play along. And yeah, Officer Pike is giving you that, of like, he's scared. Like, he's not like angry and mean and this and that. He's just like, I'm scared and I don't know what else to do, and here's the thing. Like, just do the thing. And he's kind of like asking you, like, he doesn't want Alex to go to prison. He's like, no, just sign the thing. Like, he's like, please, just make this easy. And of course, can't make it that easy.
I'm about as anti-corporation as they come, but it's hard not to sort of blame Alex here in this scenario for me, because trying to present stolen evidence to a cop as stolen evidence, or like even just admitting that it's stolen after questioned about it, is sort of a rookie mistake. And at the very least, you could copy these files to a hard drive, like encrypt them, upload them somewhere else, whatever. Like you could hand the USB to someone. Them. Yeah, you could like pay the local dude around the corner to like walk it up and drop it on the front porch of the police station. There's like 18 different ways you could do this. And I feel a bit of scorn and judgment because I'm like, you kind of walked into this, Alex. What were you thinking? And like, I don't know, the money and the extortion bit, like I don't normally feel very trusting of cops in general, but like she could have handled herself a lot better. And one of the other Life is Strange games, I don't really want to speak in terms of specifics because it's a big spoiler, but it handles something like this subject matter of like criminal penalties with a choice that you make as the player, and it feels like in episode 4 it's setting you up for that, where you're gonna kind of like either lead Alex into being locked up or not. So I'm really curious how you all resolved this scene,
because this one is presented just like it was with Charlotte, of like, oh, I can take away the emotion that is the obstacle here. I can take away Officer Pike's fear. And that felt like a completely different decision than the Charlotte decision. Because the Charlotte decision is like, the thing that she was experiencing was grief. And that was just like crushing her. And that's kind of individual to Charlotte. Whereas fear against like what a corporation would do just felt less icky to like manipulate. Because Charlotte, I was like, no, I don't want to do that. That's just weird. Like grief, we all go through that. But like fear of like this, of consequences that are happening, obstructing him from handling Typhon. I'm like, I feel like I can do that. And also, I'm like, I'm not signing that. Like, I can't. Like, I cannot sign it. Honestly, it didn't matter if it was like an icky manipulation of emotions. I would still be like, but I cannot sign it. So I have to go with the other decision. So yes, I went with that. I took away his fear, kind of.
I mean, they set the stakes, I think, really poorly in that Alex has no family, has no brother, and in my mind, when I was getting in her shoes, I'm like, I want justice for my brother. So I don't care what is the price. My virtual avatar is going to sit in prison for potentially 10 years. There are no stakes here. It is, I'm going to make the decision for my brother, and there is really no other choice. I don't know. The other choice, or the choice to take away his fear, weirdly seemed very like Jedi mind tricky to be like,
it seemed more helpful.
The corporation does not scare you. Yeah. The choice was weirdly framed. I hadn't really thought about it until you said it.
So I thought that Katie was going to take this to the parallel between the affidavit we saw signed earlier in episode 2 rather than the Charlotte scene with the emotion being taken away. Because I think as a parallel between whether or not it's ethical to take away one's emotion that might be perceived as a negative emotion, like that's a separate moral conversation than with Charlotte originally like taking the hush money. And then in this case, Alex sort of doing something similar. And I guess the stakes is like, is it right or wrong to influence someone else when they're kind of like engaging in extortionary behavior, like preventing them from falling for it or whatever, versus yourself, what like where Jacob, you were just saying like, it's sort of a personal stakes of like vengeance at some level, like it's justice, but at some level it's vengeance. So
I think it's different than that affidavit choice up front because that is not, that person doesn't have loss in it. My thought was, oh, girl, get your bag for this tragedy that your son was involved with, but like his trauma is not the same as my trauma. Where I'm like, no, that's calling out vengeance, I think is the right emotion. Because my thought was like, girl, get your bag. Like, sure, your son might have seen someone die, but he's too young to know, girl. Get your bag. Where for me, like, no, I want to see them burn.
Yeah, I think building on that, taking away Pike's emotion didn't feel bad at all to me. I just didn't feel any like moral issue with that. It just felt like the natural path forward, and I think story-wise it would have just felt really confusing to me if Alex suddenly gave in after, being willing to sacrifice so much. And it's interesting you bring up the flash drive not copying it, Flora, because I was also like, is that the same flash drive that we're working with here? Like, there was no
copying,
no preparation.
And you couldn't just be like, oh, I didn't steal it, though. I found it on the ground,
sure,
so it's
like,
fine.
Yeah, I would have loved just, like, some attempt at, I don't know what you're talking about. But.
Yeah, does the Black Lantern have like security cameras in there? Like we don't really get a lot of clarity as to how like Diane proves that Alex took it.
Yeah, she actually gave it to me because she wants Typhon to come to justice, but she doesn't want anyone to know about it. So
there's so many options.
Any number of other things she could have said.
And also, Alex, just based on her history, I would think that she would be a little bit less naive and a little bit more street smart than this.
Right.
And yes, it does seem like first encounter with any authority figure that you're like in conflict with. Like, oh, well, I don't know what to do. Like you said, Flora, there was so many options. Anything basically other than what she did.
Yeah.
Maybe she just trusted him too much. I don't know. I also felt like in terms of the stakes, I think the stakes were more like the threatening security photos and like worrying about if you pursue it or not, what's going to happen to the other characters. Right. But also kind of just anticipating that it will all work out because we have to assume that it will. So you're going to go forward anyway and hope that they're hollow threats.
It is another outcome that I'm curious about of like, what would happen? You sign the affidavit, and I'm assuming that
game's over.
No, I'm assuming it just gets brushed under the rug within like at the beginning of the next episode, at the very least, of like, that doesn't matter. We're going to the same place whether you had or not. Because I have, I find it hard to imagine that it would be radically different in the last chapter when the entire game up to now has been variations of the same thing.
I think it still ends up in the same place.
Yeah.
I was going to say, given what happened,
but yeah.
I don't think it can end in a different place. Because the thing doesn't get swept under a rug.
Well, I didn't sign it, so.
Right, but it doesn't get swept under a rug.
No, it points
shaft.
a gun at you, is what it does.
So can we talk about it now?
Yeah.
Sure.
I have a new favorite moment in Life is Strange True Colors, and it's this one because I didn't see it coming.
I didn't see it coming either.
Okay, Katie, you and I have not played this game before, so why don't we just describe and share emotions, and then our three friends that have played it before can just go, "Oh, I saw the foreshadowing, guys." Jed invites you out to show you something, which ends up being an empty mine shaft, and you sort of turn your back to him, and that's a grave mistake. Because he pulls a gun, and
dun, dun, dun.
The music swells, and the whole time my jaw was dropped because I was like, Jed, who brought me in, who gave me a job, he's gonna threaten me with a gun as a cover-up? Katie, help! Say words.
Because at first you're like, Jed, because you speak to Jed in the bar, and Jed is like, oh, I know the thing, because she's like, Typhon's, because I told him Typhon killed Gabe, basically, and they're hiding something, this other secret. And Jed's like, I know what it is. I'm going to show you. And you're like, okay, the story's coming together. We're going to unravel this right now, me and Jed. And then, he's like, actually, Typhon, kind of with them, and I have secrets too, and you have to die now. Which he went through with it. He just did it. That, honestly, there was a brief moment of shock where I was just like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, Jed, how about that? Like, I was very surprised. Not jaw on the floor, but very surprised. And then I was just more hurt. I was like, really? Really? He shot me? Haven't I been living here for like a year? I've been working there. I've been working at your bar. And he just goes through with it. I'm like, you couldn't have like done the cowardly thing and just shoved me into the mine without shooting me? No, he actually shoots you, I assume. It really seems like you get shot.
Katie, Chen is dead again. Like, there's no hey, Chen's alive.
Can you imagine if I was like, well, of course you're not dead. You're just kicked in the mine shaft. And then episode 5 opens with another wake with a big picture of Alex.
Oh, no. Girl, Alex is dead.
No, she's not. I refuse. She's not
Alex
dead.
Chen is dead.
It's the main character of the game. You can't be. It's the player character. She's not dead. That's ridiculous.
What if you play as the person you kissed?
What?
What if you play as Steph?
No, we're not doing that. They're going to put you in Ryan's shoes sometimes. Impossible.
No, they're going to put you in the one that you kiss shoes.
I know,
so
but that would mean that
Steph's
some
shoes.
people would get put into Ryan's shoes, and no one wants to play as Ryan. That's a gaming suicide. So it clearly isn't going to happen.
This is fun. I like this dynamic right here. I won't say anything future spoilers wise because I think it'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds. That said, replaying this whole game, getting to the point where Jed turns on you.
Yeah, how many hints were there?
There are a little bit of hints, but I would say
2.
it's more just like there was a couple moments,
3?
but then specifically for me, maybe this is just I have trust issues, but throughout this game I was like, this man is too nice in hindsight, and it is a little suspicious. But that was the thing for me, but I think it was last episode where you ended up fighting Jed at the end of the LARP sequence and he becomes the big bad villain. I was like, oh, I guess that is kind of foreshadowing in hindsight. Yeah. And so that was the moment that I mentioned last time that it all clicked into place and I remembered exactly how this whole rest of the game goes.
There's another moment that's foreshadowing in chapter 1, but I can't say it because you don't know why it's foreshadowing until the next chapter. But I will say, in terms of, questionable decisions, it's like, man says, come with me to the woods at night alone.
Another thing.
And as a
it's
woman...
It's like 2 a.m. probably at this time, too, because, like, the festival's done, the police station happened.
I'd love to see what you have to show me, but let's wait till there are some more people who will come with us, because,
I will say, with a replay, I've been looking a little more for the Jed stuff this go-around, and I find that most of it, if it is directly foreshadowing this turn, is tucked away in those, like, collectible memories. You have these little details about, like, Jed's wife and, like, kind of, like, raising Ryan, and, like, just small little things that are not directly told to you. And I think that it's easy to, when you first play this game, look at the characters that are befriending and, like, providing for Alex versus the ones that are just, like, filling an archetypal role, like we sort of discussed in episode 1. I don't think it is obvious. I think the LARP thing is definitely some fun foreshadowing, but there's not as much there as I think I wanted to find, at least so far when I've been going out of my way to, like, observe everything. I think that it would be more satisfying to see those clues dropped early on, like the original Life is Strange did.
I loved the shot when Alex essentially turns around and the camera cuts from Jed very almost like staring at 2 holes in the back of her head, and the camera cuts to him holding a gun and it's on the gun itself. I thought that was really masterful. And I said last time, the Charlotte moment of, the music swells and the camera work is fantastic. I think this is somehow even better, of his face, his facial capture, and the camera cuts and the music just made this whole sequence perfect. And I truly thought Jed was showing me the secret of the mines. No. And the whole last episode was going to be, okay, let's together take down Typhon. And yes, maybe you're involved in this in some way, given your connection to the mine, but you are essentially, you're living in guilt, and you finally want to say, here's the thing that I've been holding and that I'm guilty for. I don't care what impact it has on my life. I'm going to take down Typhon with you. Not, I'm secretly on the payroll and see ya.
One thing about the writing that I did really like here is where Alex says, like, Jed, why are you sad? Is like that. We've spent this whole game analyzing her ability to, like, pick up on people's emotions non-verbally. And I think that it's kind of beautiful that that's the way that it's written, rather than, like, hesitating or feeling afraid or something like that. Like, he's, like, genuinely feeling that emotion, because we see Jed earlier in those previous episodes crying over things like Gabe. Like this guy is clearly compassionate. It's just now for all of us a lot more complicated. Jacob, you look like you just had the biggest realization.
I did, that she used her power, not like, why would she, I didn't understand why she said that, but realized, she has the power to read people's emotions. And even though her back is turned to Jed, he literally cocks the gun right after she says that. Mm-hmm. She wouldn't know that unless she had that power. That's crazy. That's good writing.
I think so. I also just liked using it in not the obvious way that we've been using it up to this point. We have enough experience with it now that they can kind of just slide that in there and it makes sense. Whereas, otherwise, earlier in the game, you would have turned around, looked at him, there'd be a glowing around him. It would be portrayed that way. So I like doing it a little bit more subtly. Especially because early in the game, I like the different colors and I like the colors representing emotions, but it also felt sometimes like on the nose and obvious when I was like, I don't know that you need to have the color. It was more for not decoration, but like really emphasis and really like trying to drive it home at you. And then sometimes I was like, I don't need that. I can tell, like I can see it. If I didn't have Alex's powers, I'd be able to see that person is angry. So like, why are we doing this? So yeah, I don't know. I like kind of introducing it in different ways and layering it in a little bit more subtly.
Yeah, the same episode has like when Alex and Steph make out, like they both glow like with the joy
like,
that we learned.
Explode with gold.
Yeah, like there's like this big, like almost like a Ubisoft tower sort of like pulse.
Yes!
That happens.
That's exactly what it was.
Wow. The ending shot is her falling into the mine shaft, and I don't know. It took me out of a little bit to get an achievement when that happened. Literally, the achievement pops as she's falling down the mine shaft. But I think otherwise, this was really, really well done. And Katie, you're saying she's not dead, and I'm saying she's dead. Do you want to put a wager on it?
Yes.
Okay.
Confidently.
What is wager?
I don't know. A drink. I don't know.
Great. Perfect. Drink. Done.
Her falling down into the mine shaft really just only made me think of Get Out, the movie Get Out, which that took me out of it more so than the chiming achievement. Yeah, I don't know. I thought the same thing about this season as the Charlotte season. This scene as the Charlotte scene, where I was like, oh, this is well done. It's nothing groundbreaking. I'm not going like, oh my god, this is like nothing I've ever seen before. Like it's well made. Yeah, I appreciate that it's well made.
Sorry, this is like tricky because I have thoughts, but I don't want to say anything that then comes into play next episode. So once we're full spoilers for the whole game, I think I'll have more things to add.
I feel
you know
that
what
way
I did
too.
really like? Sorry, a shot that I really appreciated that I did not expect in this game was them, Steph and Boring Boy's name. They are telling her that she's going to be playing at the festival. They're basically like, actually, it's gonna be you, and she's like, what? Me? No. And then it smash cuts to her just like centered, standing face forward,
wonderful,
guitar in hand, of just like the smash cut to her standing there very uncomfortably was very funny, and it's one of the few times that I just like burst out laughing at this game because I just didn't expect it the way that the game had been going.
It was so good. It was so good.
And the cover, too, continues the tradition of, like, really fun uses of licensed music.
Yeah. I love that scene, and it's so funny to think about or to see that when people would stream this game, there was just nothing playing.
Yeah.
It was just silent.
The greatest streamer mode ever made.
I love this episode for its use of music across the board. I don't think we really acknowledged it, but True Colors sort of deviates from the formula of Life is Strange, where there are these sort of take a breather moments where you like sit on a bench or look over a bridge or just use, and there's like 12 different camera cuts while you like watch the birds. Those atmospheric moments are some of my favorite in Life is Strange, especially the first one. Like, for me, there's like the unforgettable scene of Chloe and Max laying in Chloe's bed in the morning while like Santa Monica Dream plays. And this episode in particular of True Colors has a few more of those moments, many of which I really like found myself staying to enjoy and sort of live with. I don't know if anyone else felt that way, but I sort of, with the exception of episode 1, kind of forgot that Life is Strange does that. So not only with this like musical performance number at the festival or the spring festival, but also just like leaning on a bridge, or there's a few others in this episode, like the moment on the dock with Charlotte. I don't even remember that being present in my first playthrough, because I think in the first playthrough I like really de-escalated her emotion, and in this one I left her be. And I don't know if that influences whether or not she's at the dock, but after leaving her to deal with her own negative emotion, that moment felt more poignant this time.
Yeah, I agree. I think we had the same sort of experience first playthrough to second playthrough, and yeah, I loved that dock moment. There was also one by the bonfire that we apparently missed.
That's what I was gonna say too, is I feel like in this instance, potentially missing these like lovely musical moments make them even more poignant for me, of like there's like an element of self-discovery and an element of like you can sit there as long as you want, which I think is really,
you have to be intentional about stopping and enjoying the moment as the player,
which I think is kind of cool.
I have also a question for people who've played more Life is Strange games than me, because I don't remember the original Life is Strange interacting, like the characters themselves interacting with the licensed music in the way that they do in this game. Because yes, they'll be lying on the bed and there's licensed music playing and they're listening to music clearly, but I don't recall them saying like, oh, that's so and so, or like a character actually singing A Blister in the Sun like they do here, or earlier the first episode they're like, oh, that Kings of Leon album, and then they listen to the one song off of the album. do they do that in the other games? Because I don't remember that.
I don't think it's as explicit as True Colors. I can think of like some moments where the music is more diegetic, like where you will see a record that says a real artist on it in like Chloe's bedroom, or you will hear like you'll be walking around, like there's a party at the high school with the pool in the first one where they play like club music. I forget the name of the artist off the top of my head, but if you look at the official soundtrack, like that song is being like present in the scene for the other characters in a way that like sort of implies that they're directly interacting with the music, but it's not the same. Like you don't really get a chance to like skip through Max's like iPod in the very beginning where you like walk through the hallway. You just have a song where she puts her headphones in. So I don't know. I think this is the most explicit it gets, unless Luke and Claire have something to throw at me there.
No, I think that's pretty accurate. And the stuff with the jukebox too, and earlier there's the character who's singing, and then you ask Steph like, "Hey, do you recognize the song?" And then you play the song on the jukebox, or they like reference specific artists in the jukebox. I think is new and different.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, it feels more intrinsically tied with the narrative than previous.
Yeah, and the characters.
Like you said, Katie, like the characters are aware of the artists and whatnot in a way that feels at least amplified, if not new in this one.
I mean, this is sort of their first. They did Before the Storm. I didn't play that one.
Before the Storm has
their
concerts in it. Like you like sneak into like music venues and stuff in that. So
Right.
it's also directly acknowledged in world. I just don't think like the characters are part of that.
That's fair. Yeah, they're all blurring together at this point.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I love that music is so tied in throughout the entire series, and that it is like a through line. And that it's not just like, well, this was the music Life is Strange, where we really focused on music, so therefore it was talked about. It's like, no, this is a consistent thing that people come back to these games for, that just like makes you like just feel good. It just feels warm inside, right? And yeah, I just like that that's a thing, that they're like, no, music is a focal point, and it's going to stay that way, even if it is another developer making the game.
It's almost like they're taking their own spin on it, and this is, again, for those of you who are listening to this after the release of Double Exposure, we don't know if that game has the same connection to music, but I am really excited for that one. Not only that one, but also Don't Nod is making Lost Records Bloom and Rage, which also seems
Looks
to have
cool.
a connection to music.
Yeah.
really
Yeah, it looks cool. So we're essentially getting 2 Life is Strange games in the next couple of months, so get stoked for that. Katie, do you want to predict where it goes? Me and you? And we can do the thing that we've been doing where Flora and Luke and Claire sort of just react and go, yes.
I mean, sure. So Alex is not dead. Even though, are we mirroring the end of the first episode with someone falling down into a pit of death?
Probably.
Absolutely. But Alex is not dead. It's impossible. Somehow empathy saved her. I don't know how, but I'm sure something happened.
She lands on a bunch of bodies.
Yeah, and they like buoy her with their memories and feelings. She lands on a cloud of feelings. That's what happens. So she lands on a cloud of feelings. She doesn't die. And then I don't know how, I can't see it like being in the mine. Like, but also I don't think you can just be like, ta-da, she's out of the mine. So like, I'm assuming we're going to have a little, like some Until Dawn mine action.
Spelunky.
And then I mean, we'll take down Typhon. I don't know how yet. Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. I have no idea, which is fun. Because up till now I'm like, yeah, we're in the town. We're gonna talk to more people. Whatever. We're taking down Typhon. Like nothing is that. We haven't taken that many crazy turns. Now I'm like, oh, new setting. What's gonna happen? I'm intrigued. Also,
Yeah,
they've all been like 2 hour or so episodes.
This one seems shorter.
It seems so short, and I didn't know if that was because I just didn't do a lot of the extra stuff. Like I didn't explore the town. I didn't go hunting for Riley at the bus stop. So I thought I was like, is this me, or does this feel like a really like kind of bare bones episode? And I don't know if that means we're leading into a much meatier finale. I kind of hope so. Yeah, I hope we like dig in and like a lot of stuff happens. I'm assuming a lot of stuff happens because it's the final episode.
Yeah, we have to take down Typhon. I just think maybe it'll be, Ryan or Steph that will do it.
Ryan.
Instead of Alex, because she's dead. Ryan, no. But I guess we'll have to see. I don't know. Do you have anything else, Flora, Claire, Luke, you want to throw in here before we bring this train to the station?
I mean, many of us have played Detroit Become Human. We've all crawled through an android graveyard, putting ourselves back together after being shot. So you never know what could happen. That's all I got to say.
Sorry, I got nothing. I think yes to your predictions. Those were predictions.
Luke is like tap dancing around spoilers in his brain and is like, how can I do this? Nope, can't do it. I'm just going to look at the screen and nod.
I'll have a lot to say next episode.
Well, I mean, I did immediately after it happened in our group chat. Friend of the show, Joseph Hooper, is also a massive fan of True Colors. So my exact message to you guys, I'm going to have to censor it, was boys. I just played True Colors Chapter 4, have not started Chapter 5. What the what the actual do her emotions save her? It's going to be a fun censor.
I will say I really appreciated the Discord of, like, the redacted. It was, like, spoilers for episode 4. And then if you, like, unredact it, it's just WTF.
That's all it was.
It's not a spoiler, but okay.
Oh, yeah. I also hit you guys with a redacted WTF. Yeah. I didn't know where to put my emotions. But I guess I'll have to seal them away for one more week until we finish Life is Strange True Colors with Chapter 5, Side B. That's our episode this time around. If you liked our show, do us a couple favors. Follow us on social media at Left Behind Club, because that's how you hear about new episodes. Give us a review on your podcasting platform of choice, because that's how people hear about podcasts. I know there are some new folks that are listening, so if you've listened to this series and you're like, yo, these people know things about video games, 5 stars and 5 stars only. If it's 4 stars, you know where you put it? You throw it in the mine shaft after you shoot it and kill it. And then you can join our Discord and yell words at me like bonk, 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 bonk at leftbehindgame.club/Discord. I will start with our guests. Luke, Claire, tell us about the places where we can find you on the internet. Maybe a podcast like Lukewarm Games or another podcast like Crossplay Conversations.
Yes. Those ones. So we're both on Lukewarm Games. Co-host. He's the host, I'm the co-host. You can also find me on Twitter, Claire Helmberger 1. And that is where I exist online.
Very good. You can also listen to Crossplay Conversations if you haven't gotten enough of Jake and I talking about video games, along with our friend that we mentioned, Joseph Hooper. I think when this episode's coming out, we have a cool interview that just came out. Awesome. So you can go listen to us interview Dave Proctor, who's the creative director over at Mighty L. He talks all about their new game, All Systems Dance, which is really, really cool. And they're working with dance consultants to have authentic dance representation in games. And it's their first action game. It's really, really cool. So anyway, go check that out.
He also drops some fun facts about his first game that I don't think have been said on the internet before. So thank you, Dave, for that.
Yeah, and he's also just really funny. He's just a very nice, funny person. So very fun interview.
Stick around for an interview or a moment where he just tells you the Lisa story, because it's worth it. It's a good
story. It's really funny.
Teaser for that. Flora, where can you be found on the interwebs?
The best place to find me is epiloguegaming.com, where you can check out all my written articles. Most recently, I put out something on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and specifically the minigame Queen's Blood. I think it's finally about time that I tackle Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, the DLC expansion. I've written quite a bit about Cyberpunk, so many thousands words up there already, but I haven't said anything about the DLC, so it might be finally the season for that. You can also check me on the Discord, the Left Behind Game Club Discord, and occasionally Twitter at Ludo Narrative FM. So those places.
Katie.
I am on Twitter. I am Lesperak, Lesperak. Yeah, that's about it. I've been thinking about starting back on Cyberpunk also, and I'm like, no, bad Katie, you have too many things to play already that you're not playing. So no, you can't put 100 hours into Cyberpunk. That's crazy. But it might happen because that's me. We'll
I started from scratch. You can jump right to the
start from
DLC,
scratch, that's
or you
the
can start
problem.
from scratch. Yeah, so goodbye to another 100 hours.
Katie, how's your Elden Ring playthrough going?
I am in the DLC, and it's beautiful.
How long did it take you to get there?
I spent like 53 hours with a brand new playthrough before I started the DLC, so yeah, I've now put like 200 hours into Elden Ring.
Nice.
But yeah, let's do Cyberpunk 2, because that's logical.
You can find me on the internet at Jacob McCourt, JACOBMCCOURT. I'm on Crossplay. We are going to have more episodes of the Left Behind Game Club coming, including a little debrief from PAX West. That is coming in the feed probably next week, maybe 2 weeks, but we'll have some interviews with game devs talking about their video games. We'll tell you our favorite games that are coming up, and talk about the panels and the friends we made along the way. So stay tuned for more episodes of the Left Behind Game Club coming just in a couple weeks, including the finale of this, obviously. That's the end of our show for today. So with that, my friends, I say, and that is, how do I end the show again? And that, yeah, that's it. And that, my friends, is one less episode left behind.
Do you feel like you're the only person in your circle who wants to go deep about video games regularly?
We were like that too. Until now.
Welcome to Crossplay Conversations, the brand new bi-weekly topical video game podcast from Luke Lewis,
Joseph Hooper,
And Jacob McCourt.
with many years of breaking it down separately on shows like the Left Behind Game Club, Player Podcast, and Lukewarm Games, the gang is finally coming together to publish their gaming group chat in audio form every other week.
Expect roundtable reviews of the latest games, profiles of upcoming indies, and insightful conversations about essential topics in the video game industry. All with a mostly positive, insightful, and fun style.
Help us out by subscribing on your podcast platform of choice to get the first episodes delivered straight to your feed.
And follow us on Twitter at Crossplay Convos for updates about the show.
Cheers and happy gaming.
Do you find yourself playing older games and wishing that there were new discussions about those games? Enter Tales from the Backlog. Hi, I'm Dave Jackson, and on each episode, I'm joined by a guest to break down those games that may be stuck in your ever-expanding backlog. Each episode looks at one game in depth, focusing on mechanics, story, music, and other aspects with no spoilers until a clearly marked spoiler wall in the middle. If you've played the game, go ahead and climb that spoiler wall and enjoy in-depth story discussions, and if not, jump out when we warn you and maybe go play that game for yourself. We have over 100 episodes in the feed, everything from Disco Elysium to Tunic to discussion episodes about how to get into horror games, and if games actually need to be fun, or if they have more to offer. I guarantee that there's something in there for everybody. Once again, that's Tales from the Backlog, available wherever your podcasts are found.
You didn't
Damn.
shout out Mike Ruffalo.
Yay!
Nah, he's married now. He doesn't get shout-outs.
Dang. Redact that.
His wife can shout him out now. I'm going to keep that in, I think. Was that a little spicy for you, Flora? Hey, I stood in his wedding. I was one of his groomsmen, so I've earned that.